Welcome back to Quinte Connection. Thanks for joining us. All sorts of things we're chatting about, but a familiar face to many of us here in the broader Bay of Quinte region. Bill Welychka is back with us. 2023 debut memoir, A Happy Has-Been, exciting times and lessons learned by Canada's foremost entertainment journalist. We've got the second edition finally, so Bill, congratulations.
Thank you so much, and again, thanks for having me. I loved it last time around, so figure why not for the second edition.
Why not? Well, it's online too now, the book, which is fantastic. What's the response been like, especially as you've been traveling across Ontario doing book signings and greetings?
I was worried about it. I thought, okay, I just did this a couple of years ago, but a lot of people kept saying, "Is there going to be a second volume? A second volume? You have so much fun stories to share." And I ended up there was so much that happened since the book's release until this year, and I thought, okay. A lot of stories kept coming up that I didn't talk about in the first one when I was doing these book tours. And so I just started writing them down one day and realized, okay, maybe not a second volume, a second edition. So I added to the middle a whole lot, and there's a lot more pictures, and there's a great big long afterword talking about the job cuts that we dealt with here in Kingston a year ago in July. And basically where I am now. And and so some people didn't buy the first edition, they bought the second one. I met people who ended up buying both, and I feel sorry for them, so thank you. There's not a lot of money in publishing, by the way, so it's not like I'm going to retire. It's just something that people asked about, and I put it out there.
Well, it's great. Yeah, you've done so much.
Not going to be a third edition. This is it.
Well, that's good to know. But you've done so much from your Much Music video days on to CKWS Global Kingston. You're well known. So with this bill, partial proceeds of this book had gone to the White Ribbon Campaign. Could you briefly kind of elaborate on that for folks who are unaware?
Well, I got involved with the White Ribbon Campaign mid to late 90s when I was with Much Music, and I got asked to MC the White Ribbon concert. It was around Juno week, so basically there was one house band at the Phoenix and all these male singers that were in town for the Junos. We did one night and they were singing covers, all these different male singers, and proceeds went to the White Ribbon Campaign. And so I did a lot of homework and realized the White Ribbon Campaign started in Canada a couple of years after the Montreal Massacre. And it is now recognized in well over 70 countries around the world. And a lot of these countries don't have women's rights. A lot of these countries are still dealing with equity problems, equality problems. And so here at home, what the White Ribbon Campaign does is it's men joining together to end men's violence against women. And they'll go into schools, maybe grade 4, 5, 6, where young boys might see daddy abuse mommy. And they try and break the cycle, because at that age, guys will grow up thinking it's acceptable, and we all know it's not. So they're hearing from a male figure, an alternative male figure, as opposed to their dad. And there's new messaging, hopefully at a young age, where they grow up and they realize by the time they're in university, date, rape, drugs, nope, not cool. And if there's a group of guys speaking ill about a specific girl, or they're in a bar situation and there's a date, rape, drug involved, it takes one guy to stand up and go, "That's cool, man, what are you doing?" No. And so I was involved very early on with the White Ribbon Campaign, and the idea is that it's now all over the world. And this started in Toronto, and I love that. And it's a Canadian endeavor, and we all know that women's shelters are overflowing, they're underfunded. And so for the book tour, I was also just a little basket out there wherever I was at, would stick $10 in, and people were putting in 5s and 10s and spare change, and I would match that figure for that afternoon, donate it to a local women's shelter. But overall book sales, partial proceeds will go to the White Ribbon Campaign.
Well, good for you. Thanks for putting your money behind that. We really appreciate it. So, Bill, for you, as you were going through the second edition, many folks, I imagine, took you aside at a coffee shop and said, "Hey, what about this story? What about that story?" Could you share one of the stories that's in the second edition that made the cut?
Well, I totally forgot about this until someone reminded me. I was putting together a Metallica special, and I interviewed Metallica, all four guys in Detroit. It was the summer sanitarium tour, so we went to Detroit, and it was the eve of that tour, that North American tour. And we were recording on it, luckily. And I was telling Lars about how I interviewed Nickelback just a few months previous. I spent the day with Nickelback, and Chad was telling me that, you know, Nickelback, uh, uh, are huge fans of Metallica. And he was saying how when he was just in high school, he saw Metallica play in Edmonton, and they all went out drinking after. And he saw Lars, not Lars, it was James at a bar, and he was being hounded by all these Metallica fans. Of course, it was after a Metallica show. And Chad was saying that him and Lars, or him and James, locked eyes, and James toasted him with the Heineken, and he took a drink, and he goes, "That look changed my life. That little look I had with James." He goes, "I was like a little girl. I was just so giddy that James recognized me." And this is, I guess, before Nickelback, or Nickelback might have just started playing small clubs. And I was telling Lars the story, and he had said, "Man, I gotta tell James to stop cheering strangers in bars." Because they weren't really big fans of Nickelback. I like Nickelback, I don't mind them. But just that funny exchange.
Yeah.
Someone brought that up, or they recalled that in the special that they watched. And I thought, oh my God, I forgot about that. But there was a lot of those little things. Bob Geldof is mentioned in the second edition. Joan Jett, a lot of legends that I forgot about. And so I recount interviews and what they had said. And yeah, didn't expect the Bob Geldof to get a lot
Yeah.
of press this year, but it was the anniversary of Live Aid. And so I'm glad that I brought up my interview with Bob Geldof, Sir Bob, actually. He's been knighted, yeah, for good
Nice.
reason. Yeah,
Nice.
Bob Geldof sort of changed the way charity singles were done and charity concerts were done in the mid 80s. And I think any charity single now, any charity concert uses that as a blueprint to raise money. And I love that music can do that.
Well, as we try to keep up with you and everything that's happening, what's going on these days, Bill? Especially, with this book. You've already shut down. We're not going to get a third edition.
Everyone in our region knows, and I'm reminded of it every day when I go grocery shopping, or if I'm at the gas station, someone says, "What happened to the cuts at Chorus Kingston?" That was our local news. That was you, that morning show. We invited you in. You were part of our family. And I realized that a long time ago with viewers, is that they welcome you in. You become part of their family. You remove that, and it's like when they finally meet you, they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. What happened?" Um, you know, and I'm still getting it. And that's nice to see. That to me shows that we connected. And that's all you can ever ask for in a position that we were fortunate enough to be in. I'm out of media after 35 years. I didn't want to move from our region. I love our region. And, you know, it is a shrinking industry in some cases, not just TV, but radio and print. You're doing a great job, and I commend you for that, for bringing the community and keeping the community together, because we need local. We really, really need local. And so I'm totally, I still have some interviews that air on the TV, an abbreviated version of our news. But I am in automotive sales right down the 401 in Gananoque at Ganshev, very reputable, great dealership with amazing people here. And I've been doing that since January. I have a friend that works here, and he said, "Come on down." So I got my OMVIC license early in the year. And, I've always felt like I wanted to contribute, and I'm doing it in my own way, I think, in an avenue like this, where, you're assisting people, you're helping people find a vehicle that fits them, fits the family. It provides freedom, it provides economic means to get to work. All these little things I've learned over the past several months about the importance of trust between the buyer and us, And I've heard stories about other dealerships and I cringe. And I'm so glad that I work for a dealership with a great reputation, not just our sales department, but also our service department.
Well,
Very
thanks,
important.
Bill. Yeah, thanks, Bill. And I mean, same set of skills at the end of the day, really, right? You're doing your research, you're building trust, and you're trying to get the story and everyone happy. So once again, Bill Welychka, congratulations on everything, and really glad to hear that you're still in the region. Thanks so much for supporting YourTV and everything you've done here for the broader community.
I'm a subscriber. Have to.
Thanks,
Love local.
Bill.
Thank you so much for doing what you do.